Okay, so your focus and then now your focus of analysis, like especially from a business point of view, is that capitalist system then?
Yeah.
Is that become like
The
what
market,
the market?
capitalism,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
and how it's changed.
Okay.
And,
So what can you tell us about this? Like how? So first, a very short answer on why do you believe the system, as you describe it, or the market system or the capitalist system, is responsible for the climate change and the loss of biodiversity and etc. And then we'll go through the history of that system.
yeah, I mean, these problems are not externalities. They're not unintended consequences. They're the product of the system as designed.
Okay.
We have embedded in the system belief in unlimited economic growth.
Right.
That's actually not possible in a fixed system. We have the idea that government should have a limited role in the market, let the market do its magic, which I just think is nonsense. The market, capitalism, are a set of human-made institutions in the service of humans, and if they don't work anymore, then they need to be adjusted and fixed. And so they are causing problems not just in the environmental, but in the social domain. The level of income inequality we have right now, we haven't seen since the Gilded Age. And capitalism is doing that. Thomas Piketty, that's his whole point, is that capitalism by design, the rich get richer through their invested capital. If you make your money off your labor, you're not keeping up with the growth of invested capital.
Keep up, especially in the last couple of years.
Right.
Okay, so I think you develop in one of many of your outlet and books this notion that we need to address climate change and climate sustainability issue by looking at that system of capitalism. But capitalism, and the reason why it is such a successful system, is because of its adaptability.
Right.
And so the current version of capitalism that we have, we may have a very big issue with it, but it was not always like the version that existed. So rather than being described as a socialist or something along those lines, I think maybe to reassure the audience, you might want to describe like how capitalism has morphed over the years, relatively briefly, but
Yeah, I mean, with my students, all of us, you and I, all our peers, all our students have only experienced one variant of capitalism. And it's one we've had since the 70s, shareholder capitalism. In most Western economies, that's what's in play. And so for many students, it's unquestioned. And many faculty, it's unquestioned. And yet it has evolved over time. Certainly, what we have right now is shareholder capitalism. What preceded that has been called managerial capitalism. We had the large corporations forming. Alfred Chandler talked about the visible hand, the managerial class running these companies, and it had a very strong role of government in the market. Keynesian economics dominated. In the 70s, we had stagflation. Prior to that, economists didn't think you could have inflation and unemployment at the same time. It was one or the other. Now we had both, stagflation. And the Keynesian economists were flummoxed. They didn't know what to do. So in come the neoclassical economists are saying the answer is get government out of the way. Let the market do what it does. Milton Friedman, Hayek, the Chicago School. And so that is the variant we have now. And I don't want to debate whether it was the right one for its time. A better question is, have the times changed so much? We just had Paul Pullman on campus, and he made a point that I just really liked. He goes,
Paul Pullman, remind the people, CEO
former CEO of Unilever.
Yeah.
And he said, in Friedman's time, you had shareholders. Today, he says, we have share traders. They don't care about the fundamentals of the company. They're not invested for the long term in the success of the company. They just want their money and they want to leave. And so Friedman's arguments kind of fall apart there. Are they really the owners, or are they just opportunists trying to exploit the company for their own personal gain? It's the latter. And so the basic precepts of shareholder capitalism, is the purpose of the firm to make money for the shareholder? I think that is seriously problematic if you want to have stable companies. I mean, I could walk probably downstairs, I can do this in my school, finish this sentence, what's the purpose of the firm? They will say, make money for the shareholder. And then when I teach them, actually, there's no legal requirement that they do this. And they look at me just stunned. And then it doesn't fit the actual practical application of management in a business. Peter Drucker said the purpose of the firm is to identify and serve a market. Colin Meyer, the dean of the Said School, said the purpose of business is to solve society's problems profitably. That's a much better definition than make money for the shareholder. Because if it's the shareholder, then your job as a CEO is just follow the share price. That's all you do.
Yeah.
And whether you make good products, that's secondary.
It's irrelevant, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also short term every
Right,
quarter,
right.
and you see the effect of that, an announcement of restructuring coupled with an investment, a reasonable investment in AI might boost your share prices,
And then they're going to cash out, and they're going to
exactly.
Right.
So you've got those phenomena. So I think you made
And I would also add that capitalism has evolved since Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations. I'm not saying he invented capitalism, he merely wrote it down. What he saw, he codified it, he set it up, and it's evolved over time. And it has also been diverse. There are multiple forms of capitalism. Nordic capitalism, very different than American capitalism, very different than Chinese capitalism. There's a variant there, and that stuns my students as well.
Yeah, of course.
And I think this is an important lesson that I've tried to bring into business education, because I have a course called Reexamining Capitalism. And this generation, according to surveys from Gallup, are disenchanted with capitalism. Yet in my first class, students at a business school, graduate students, I say, define capitalism, and they can't. And so off we go. Okay, you need to understand this. You need to understand what is capitalism, how it was originally conceived, what were its original critics, how has it evolved, who are the critics today. I mean, Jeffrey Sachs, Mariana Mazzucato, there's a lot of great stuff.
Okay, so if we summarize, capitalism has evolved from being multi-stakeholders in its purpose and its to something that became solely focused on maximizing shareholder values in the short term, and this attitude has led to profit maximization and the use of externality we'll still use as natural resources to maximize your profit.